The moment of conception. A sperm fertilizes an egg. It's the start of a new life. But how did these lovers choose each other? And why do they turn each other on? Science is now uncovering the secrets of sexual attraction, revealing how love is like a rush of cocaine, how we can choose our future partner with our noses, and ultimately, how and why we pick our perfect mate. Boy meets girl. Girl meets boy. Each thinks the other is hot, and the rest just follows naturally. It's a mating ritual as old as humankind itself. But now science is moving into the bedroom to study in depth the details of sexual attraction. Scientists are putting the chemistry of lust, love, and long-term relationships under the microscope.
Least attractive, slight difference.
And around the world, researchers are exploring your love life in some surprising ways. Powerful evolutionary processes determine what attracts us to a mate and the way we attract others. Natural selection is the struggle for the best individuals to survive. Animals compete with each other for food and to escape predators. The survivors win the prize of passing on their genes to future generations. But there's also another process at work: sexual selection. In all advanced animals, as the saying goes, it takes two to tango. Only animals capable of attracting a mate will pass their genes down the generations. So sexual selection encourages the development of features and animal behavior that differentiate male from female and help attract a sexual partner. Scientists now know that humans are no exception to these rules. Anthropologist Helen Fisher studies how our bodies and brains have evolved so that boy meets girl. She believes that three separate sexual drives control the rules of the mating game. Lust, the sex drive, our craving for sexual gratification. Romantic love, our adoration for the one partner who seems to be all that we seek. And attachment, the way we develop a secure union with a long-term partner.
The sex drive evolved to get you out there looking for a range of partners. I think that romantic love evolved to enable you to focus that mating energy on just one at a time. And I think that attachment evolved to enable you to tolerate this individual at least long enough to raise a child through infancy.
But what is it that makes us lust for the opposite sex in the first place?
Yeah.
Fisher has been doing revolutionary research into our brains to discover what turns us on.
For me was you
On the campus of Stony Brook University, New York, Fisher advertises for students in love. She uses a functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI machine, to scan the students' brains. It reveals the constantly changing pattern of blood flow in the brain. Active brain cells show up as they require more blood than their less active neighbors.
15 years ago, we couldn't have studied love this way. Now we can. We can look into the brain and see which parts become active and really begin to understand the brain networks that we all experience when we're madly in love.
First, the team records blood flow through the brain as their subjects gaze at a neutral image. Then they change the picture to a photo of the subject's lover and measure the blood flow once again. They find that men react differently to women. Men are turned on visually, while women are more interested in character.
Among our male subjects, we found more activity in a brain region associated with the integration of visual stimuli. And in our female subjects, we found more activity in brain regions associated with memory recall.
Of course, we've known for generations that men seek visual stimulation when it comes to sex. Striptease is one of the oldest professions. For men, visual arousal stimuli are vitally important and activate the brain more than they do for women.
Women do like to look, but men like to look more. And I think this is for a very profoundly powerful Darwinian reason.
But what are those Darwinian evolutionary reasons? What exactly are men looking for? To shed some light on the visual stimuli that fire up a man's brain cells, we send a researcher out onto the streets of London to demonstrate a classic psychology experiment. The researcher's mission: to ask men which of these 4 drawings they find most attractive.
Which of these women do you think is most attractive?
The female figures are virtually identical, although the small differences between them are all important.
They're all the same.
No, they're not. There's a slight difference in all of them.
The relationship between the size of the waist and the size of the hips is marginally different in every picture. The sex researchers refer to this relationship as the waist-to-hip ratio.
D.
C. C.
I say A. C.
Any reason why?
She's got curves.
Thank you very much.
In our survey, A wins 2 votes, B has none, C attracts 15, and D scores 5. Our result is the same as in the original experiment. A clear majority of men prefer a woman just like Miss C. A woman whose waist is precisely 7/10 the size of her hips. The figure that scientists suggest is the perfect waist-to-hip ratio. With such a ratio, a woman with a 26-inch waist will have 37-inch hips. This result may not seem like much, but it gives us an insight as to what men are looking for in a sexual partner. Women with this waist-to-hip ratio of around 0.7 are thought more likely to bear babies. They find it easier to get pregnant, conceive earlier in life, and have fewer miscarriages. These features, along with well-formed lips, high-defined cheeks, and sizable breasts, are controlled by the sex hormones and are called hormonal markers. Biologist Randy Thornhill from the University of New Mexico studies how our bodies display sexual attractiveness.
The human face and body is a collection of signals of symmetry and signals of hormone effects in the body. Male body testosterone, female body estrogen.
Features such as a woman's breasts and fat deposits in her upper cheeks and lips are substantially shaped by bodily levels of the sex hormone estrogen. Secreted primarily by the ovaries, estrogen influences not only the menstrual cycle, but also the development at puberty of a woman's secondary sexual characteristics, which include her face and body shape.
Estrogen is a marker of the quality of the female, and that includes a marker of her reproductive capacity. So her ability to bear children successfully is all highly estrogen related in women.
Scientists theorize that men are disproportionately attracted to women whose features indicate healthy hormonal levels, because that offers the promise of more easily producing healthy children.
For millions of years, a man needed to mate with a woman who had signs of health and youth and fertility, the kind of woman that could bear him healthy babies.
But it's not just women who display hormonal markers. As a boy reaches puberty, testosterone secreted by the testes promotes the growth of particular masculine features, such as prominent cheekbones, a strong jaw, and broad shoulders. These masculine features are markers for virility and health. They also appear to be dominant markers. Dominance is associated with male reproductive success in many species, including humans. But sexual attractiveness is transitory. Estrogen levels decline with age, which means that a youthful appearance attracts men who are biologically driven to seek out the most fertile women. But nowadays, all is not what it seems. It is possible to fool the system by creating hormonal indicator features that nature may not have supplied or that age may have taken away. In 2004, the United States public spent almost $13 billion on cosmetic procedures. 90% of them were carried out on women. Dr. Mark Money is a cosmetic surgeon in what is probably the world's most silicone-enhanced neighborhood, Beverly Hills.
The majority of patients that come to me are fundamentally looking to be more successful in the sexual selection process. Commonly in women, they're going to be looking for procedures that make them look younger. And that, again, is because youth is something that is attractive in the process of sexual selection. And so a younger looking female is going to naturally be more attractive to any male.
In 2004, plastic surgeons carried out nearly 340,000 breast implants and around 250,000 face and forehead lifts in the US alone. But it's not just women who want to cheat nature in the mating game. In that same year, 1.2 million men had plastic surgery, including 719 pectoral implants.
Things that men look for in plastic surgery are going to be things that make them maybe look more masculine a lot of the time. For example, a chin implant to make the man have a stronger jaw.
This explosion of personal re-engineering could have a serious effect on human attractiveness in the future.
It actually may make the population more unattractive because people with unattractive features can have them changed and consequently be more successful reproductively. So their offspring will still have the genes that carried unattractive features on.
But hey, looks aren't everything, and women more than men seek out other assets. For women, the ideal mate is more than just a source of fertile sperm. She seeks the more intangible characteristics, such as reliability, loyalty, kindness, that suggest a good husband and a good father for her children. But it's not possible to judge these just from looks.
For millions of years, a woman couldn't really look at a man and size him up to know whether he would be a good provider and a good protector.
Fisher finds a major clue as to how women weigh up their prospective mates by analyzing the brain scans of her female students. The women in love have more blood racing through a part of the brain called the hippocampus, an area associated with the processing of memory. But what has memory got to do with sexual attraction and a woman's love life? Fisher suggests that women are particularly interested in the men's character, and that they build up a memory map of their behavior in order to determine if they will be a suitable mate and father to their children.
She needed to remember what he did last Valentine's Day, what he promised last Christmas, what he didn't do last summer. She needed to remember to see if he was going to be a good husband and a good father.
And for that, memory is vitally important.
And in fact, that's what women do all the time. We get on the telephone and talk to other women, constantly recounting what he did and didn't do. What we're doing is creating a memory trail of whether this is going to be a good individual to pass on our DNA with.
It makes good evolutionary sense for a woman to mate with a reliable man who will help her raise their children. But women look for other things in men that will help their offspring succeed, such as status. Status is important in the mating game, as wealthy, powerful, dominant men are seen as being able to provide a good life for possible offspring. And they advertise this status with fancy cars and elegant clothes. But status is only part of the story. For humankind to survive and prosper, we need healthy offspring, with healthy genes and a healthy immune system to protect them from disease. But how can you tell if the man or woman you think is attractive will bring a suitable and healthy immune system along to the party. Scientists suggest that getting your partner to play a little hot and sweaty sport might help, so you can properly analyze their DNA with your nose. Evolution has driven men and women to behave in different ways to maximize their chances of winning a mate. But behavior is only part of the story. Scientists are now conducting new experiments to decipher more and more of the coded signals our bodies send out to attract a sexual partner. Signals that contain hidden information about the type and quality of the immune system we may pass on to our children, and that we read in an instant. University of New Mexico biologist Randy Thornhill believes that we interpret these signals in milliseconds without even knowing we are doing it.
Our awareness is just, this person is more attractive than that person, when in fact we're doing very sophisticated calculations that are going on in our heads, and all this is done very unconsciously and very quickly.
He believes the human nose is one of the best tools we have for deciphering secret messages of sexual attraction from the opposite sex. To illustrate this, Thornhill gets some students to wear identical, freshly laundered white shirts during a game of basketball. As the players perspire, their shirts absorb the sweat, which contains pheromones, odorless airborne molecules exuded from the sweat glands of both men and women. Pheromones are believed to be involved in attracting the opposite sex. What Thornhill has discovered is that they have a far more complex role and convey far more complex information than previously believed. In his laboratory, Thornhill asks a group of female biology graduates to put their sense of smell to the test.
The women will smell these shirts worn by each man and rate them for sexiness, pleasantness, and intensity.
The women have no idea which shirt belongs to which athlete. They take each shirt in turn, sniff and consider its scent, and write down which they like best. Based on nothing more than smell, the girls decide which shirts they find most pleasant and most sexy. Thornhill analyzes the immune systems of the male and female volunteers by studying the major histocompatibility complex, or MHC, a group of genes that play an important role in the body's defense system. He discovers that the women students prefer the smell of men with a dissimilar MHC, thus favoring guys whose immune systems differ from their own.
The general pattern is that both men and women like the body scent of individuals who are dissimilar, who are different from them.
This makes good evolutionary sense. The immune system helps fight off disease. How good it is depends on the genes. People who inherit a range of genes have an advantage.
Because diseases evolve very, very quickly, you need genetic variation in the offspring to get the right genetic combination to cope with the currently prevalent diseases.
For the perfect match, lovers should have immune system capabilities that differ from each other. Then their babies get the best of the mix, a diversity giving them a better chance of a healthy life. Human beings, just like the girls in Thornhill's study, are able to pick a suitable genetic mate just with their noses. Thornhill's experiments back up earlier European studies that pheromones subconsciously reveal the body's defense secrets to others, although nobody yet understands how this works. But our noses can detect more than just different genes. They can also detect symmetry. It may seem bizarre, but women prefer the smell of men who are more symmetrical.
More symmetric men smell better to women, specifically to women who are at the fertile phase of the menstrual cycle.
The fact that symmetry attracts the opposite sex is nothing new. It was first noted by researchers in the 1990s and has proved a popular topic for the media ever since. The original symmetry studies measured a series of faces to determine how symmetrical they were, then asked people to rate the faces in order of attractiveness. Thornhill demonstrates this test with a biology class of 2005.
Rate the attractiveness of some male faces, with 10 being most attractive and 1 being least attractive.
Well, I would rate this first individual as about a 3 or a 4. I think the second picture is a lot more attractive than the first. I'd rate him more as a 4 or 5.
I'd say the girl on the left's about a 3, and the girl on the right's a little more attractive. I'd give her about a 6 to 6.5.
I guess the one on the left I'd put at about a 4, and the one on the right a 6.
Like the earlier studies, the faces people thought most attractive were consistently those that were most symmetrical. What's strange is that if a face is completely symmetrical, like these artificially created by mirroring each side of the face, the result is unnatural. Perfect symmetry is unattractive. Scientists do have a theory about why we find symmetrical faces appealing.
Symmetry is a reliable signal of quality because symmetry is very, very difficult to get right. And hence, symmetry is a marker of the quality of the individual to develop perfect bilateral symmetry.
Recent research from 2004 discovered that our faces reveal hidden clues about our quality as a prospective partner. Just like the pheromones, faces also display information about our immune system. In the study, women selected pictures of men they found most attractive. When they analyzed the blood from the men, they found that the men chosen as the most attractive had a greater variety of genes and hence a stronger immune system. No one quite knows how our faces convey this information. It's possible that people with a good immune system are less prone to diseases and parasites, the sort of things that might lead to asymmetrical features when we are developing. Whatever the answer, our symmetrical looks, it seems, are the store window in which we advertise the strength of our genes.
The evolutionary process over the last several million years has put into our brains psychological mechanisms that function to assess health of others. And we interpret that as attractiveness of others. And that attractiveness corresponds with these health markers, the symmetry, clear skin.
Symmetry appears so important that the female body even performs its own tricks to appear more symmetrical. In a simple experiment at the University of Liverpool, England, biologists measure the hands and ears of women before, during, and after ovulation. They discover that 24 hours before ovulation, the women's hands and ears alter shape to become more symmetrical. Scientists are not sure how this happens, but they think it's due to changes in water retention in the cells of the hands and ears. Because these changes are not the same on both sides of the body, they have the effect of altering the woman's symmetry. This could be perceived by males as a sudden increase in attractiveness. But once we have found our future mate, there remains a further mystery that perplexes countless men and women every day. How do we persuade them to take an interest in us? Don't despair. It turns out that science can lend a hand by improving your chances of winning in the great mating game with practical, scientific tips to make you more attractive to the opposite sex. Our range of possible sexual partners and long-term mates is phenomenal. Every day we pass hundreds of people, any one of whom could turn out to be the perfect partner. Anthropologist Helen Fisher studies the science of how we choose our lovers, seeking to understand what amazing process of biology makes us fall in love with someone else and then keeps us together long enough to have children. She has broken down this process of sexual attraction into 3 stages: lust, romantic love, and attachment. Each of these three sexual drives comes with its own biochemical trigger, one or more hormonal messengers carrying information from one cell to another. In fact, science now recognizes that a powerful arsenal of chemicals manipulates our decisions without us ever realizing what's happening. Lust is driven by the hormone testosterone. Men produce it in their testes, women in their ovaries. It travels through the blood to the brain and stimulates the sex drive. It's what drives someone on their first tentative steps toward having sex, seeking their very first date. But lust can be influenced by other emotions. Social psychologist Art Aaron studies how sexual attraction can be heightened by feelings of fear and anxiety.
When it comes to initial intense attraction, you experience intense physiological arousal. Your heart beats fast, as would happen if you were running or if something tense or exciting had happened.
These feelings are similar to those caused by fear. His research suggests that fear and anxiety can initiate feelings of sexual attraction and even make people appear more attractive. Aaron puts his theory to the test by conducting some, literally, high-level research. A high and wobbly suspension bridge provides the perfect location for the experiment. A female researcher stands in the middle of the bridge, a spot chosen as likely to induce a rush of excitement or fear. She stops passing men and asks them to complete a questionnaire. The questions are not particularly special, but at the end of the interview, she hands each man her phone number in case they have any further questions about the study.
Thanks so much.
In the second stage of the experiment, the researcher changes locations, this time to a low, solid, and perfectly safe bridge. Again, she asks passing men to answer the questionnaire. Again, at the end of the interview, she gives them her phone number. The next day, back in the office, she waits by the phone. She keeps a log of which men call her and on which bridge they had met. The demonstration appears to support the excitement hypothesis. 4 times more men from the scarier wobbly suspension bridge call than from the safe and solid bridge. Fear makes the woman more sexually attractive to the men. So, forget a romantic meal. Perhaps the best place for the first date is someplace really scary. Evolutionary psychologist Jeffrey Miller researches how sexual selection influences humankind's levels of intelligence.
The funny thing about sexual selection is it's a very powerful evolutionary process, but it's not blind, dumb natural selection. It's driven by our tastes, our pleasure, what we find attractive psychologically and physically about other people.
Hundreds of thousands of years ago, humans started selecting partners who were more intelligent. As a result, intelligence began to grow in our species.
We don't just grow brain for survival, we grow brain to attract other brains as mates.
The evidence that our brain evolved by sexual selection comes from something biologists call the handicap principle. The peacock's tail is the classic example. Such a large, colorful tail takes energy to grow, resources that could otherwise be put to survival. It's a handicap, and so only birds with the best genes can carry the biggest, most glamorous tails. Like a peacock's tail, a bigger brain carries a handicap because it uses a disproportionate amount of the body's energy. It consumes about 20% of the oxygen we breathe, about 25% of our calories, and about 40% of our glucose.
It's a kind of costly, conspicuous, wasteful organ. And in that sense, I think of it as kind of being like a luxury good. And often we're using it for things that aren't that directly related to survival. We're talking, we're trying to achieve status, we're trying to impress people.
Miller argues that human intelligence and our creativity are the result of our long history of sexual selection. Our creative imagination that has produced the rich variety of language, music, art, and science we see today was forged hundreds of thousands of years ago by our ancestors choosing more intelligent, witty, and entertaining partners. And when we choose a partner, the choice we make will shape the creativity of future generations.
Intelligence helps to show that you've got good genes, because there again, any kind of mutations that tend to reduce brain efficiency tend to reduce intelligence.
You know?
But it's not just intelligence that seems to attract us. It's creative thought. A recent report from the Royal Society of Biological Sciences found that many artists and poets have twice as many sexual partners as non-creative people. The study backs up Miller's theory that artists like Picasso are more sexually attractive because of their creativity. But there is yet another trait that comes out on top as Miller's #1 tip for winning them over.
Top two traits most desired across cultures are intelligence and kindness. In fact, kindness even comes out a little bit higher than intelligence.
Being kind has obvious attractions. A kind person will make a good partner and will probably be a caring parent. But there's a more scientific reason for choosing someone with moral virtue. It's an indicator of good genes.
Moral virtue is costly, it's difficult. Almost anything that messes up your body or your brain, mutations, brain damage, brain injury, tends to make people more selfish and less kind.
What's more, unlike physical appearance, this type of attractiveness is harder to fake.
It's fairly easy to get your body looking pretty good. A 40-year-old now can look as youthful and healthy as a 22-year-old a century ago. To some extent, it's harder to fake the intelligence and moral virtues like kindness that are sexually attractive. That's what's fascinating about the way that we evaluate potential mates, is we just automatically focus on the unfakeable indicators of intelligence and kindness.
Over the course of a few dates, this couple engineered ways to show off their genetic gifts to each other. Some displays are more subtle than others. Yet neither of them has a clue about what's really going on in their heads. They say when you fall in love, your eyes light up, but so do parts of your brain. And some scientists are now busy exploring the neurochemical fireworks display that explodes in our heads when animal sexual attraction transforms into love. What are the secrets of sexual attraction? The reasons why we think someone's hot? Science has established that evolutionary cues kickstart the body into lustful behavior. We are turned on by body shape, symmetry, and intelligence. We are drawn to someone and hope they respond to our advances. But we don't just mate with anyone. Usually our brain makes us focus our attention on just one individual. What fuels this passion for one person is the second of anthropologist Helen Fisher's 3 mating drives: romantic love. That feeling of ecstasy so potent, it should carry a warning from the Surgeon General.
Love has always been the preserve of poets and songwriters and novelists. But I came some time ago to realize that this is one of the most powerful human feelings on earth.
Romantic love is not a fanciful notion. It's scientifically measurable, the result of nature's biological alchemy. Social psychologist Art Aaron and anthropologist Helen Fisher joined forces in a unique scientific study. Their mission? To explore the chemistry of love, to map the hormones of desire within the architecture of the brain. Fisher believes that romantic love is the second stage of sexual attraction, moving the relationship to something deeper. If you've ever been in love, you know what an overpowering emotion it can be.
You feel elation, euphoria, mood swings. You're very dependent on the person. You focus your attention on them. You're highly motivated to win them. You crave the person. You become obsessed with thinking about them.
Fisher and Aaron are eager to discover if these feelings of romantic love are different from the feelings of sexual arousal. To find out, they analyze their fMRI data, showing blood flow through the brains of students who are self-confessedly deeply in love. They discover that a region of the brain, known as the caudate nucleus, appears to be activated when a person falls in love. The caudate is part of the brain's complex reward system. It appears that being in love affects the brain in much the same way as using certain illegal stimulant drugs.
The response we see in the brain when a person looks at their beloved, who is intensely, passionately in love with them, is very much like the response to having cocaine.
The brain areas concerned have a high concentration of receptors for the hormone dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is involved in the control of fine motor coordination, motivation, physical energy, short-term memory, and emotions such as sexual desire.
Dopamine is one of the body's primary feel-good chemicals.
Elevated levels of dopamine produce extremely focused attention and unwavering motivation, the very characteristics of romantic love.
It's what we call a reward response, a dopamine system response. Human beings seem to be wired to have a particular response to very intense reward. And one of the great examples is falling in love and having it reciprocated.
Heightened dopamine levels explain why love-stricken men and women become so dependent on their relationship and why they crave to be with their partner. For Fisher, this desire to focus on just one individual makes perfect evolutionary sense.
This brain system evolved to become triggered, and so that you could have an incredible amount of energy, focus your attention on somebody, be highly motivated to win them, and stay together at least long enough to conceive a child.
The somewhat unromantic truth is that romantic love is born out of the evolutionary success of couples wanting enough sex with each other to get the female pregnant. The chemicals flooding our brain during the early stages of love are so powerful that it's little wonder that love is frequently compared to an addiction. And just like the craving for illicit drugs, love can make people do crazy, sometimes dangerous things.
And it's more powerful than the sex drive. I mean, if you ask somebody to go to bed with you and they reject you, you don't kill yourself. People kill themselves or kill somebody else if they are rejected in love.
Romantic love remains a universal experience, deeply woven into the fabric of the human brain.
Everywhere in the world, people live for love, die for love, sing for love, dance for love, are happy in love.
But Fisher doesn't think that dopamine-fueled romantic love on its own can keep couples together for long.
That was,
romantic love is very metabolically expensive. I mean, you walk all night, you talk till dawn, you make love to the person till noon. It would be very unadaptive for the human animal to be going constantly in a state of high energy.
Our success as a species depends on men and women sticking together long enough to raise their young. To try and make sure this happens, our bodies bombard our brains with yet more sexual hormones. A chemical arsenal that keeps us together long after the fire of romantic love has finally flickered out. Naked Science next asks one of the most provocative questions in evolutionary science. Can we be faithful to one partner, or are we biologically predestined to cheat? A study of nature's secret weapons of love shows how we are genetically programmed to instantly react to the possibilities of a lustful sexual adventure, and how our brains feed us a heady brew of powerful drugs to induce the ecstasy of falling in love. But once we've chosen our mate and fallen in love, can we stay together? Or are humans biologically programmed to cheat? 97% of all mammals are not monogamous. So how can we stay together in the face of so many options? John Gonzaga is a psychologist at UCLA in Southern California. Gonzaga's studies show that true love really can bind people together in a monogamous relationship.
I think that evolution has given us the capacity to be committed, but it's complicated because it's not just we either are a species that commits or a species that philanders. We're a species that has the ability to do both because we react to the environment that we're in.
He has conducted a groundbreaking study to discover how humans stick with their partners rather than go off with any number of attractive alternatives.
So we wanted to directly test whether or not love, rather than other states like desire, is going to help you push thoughts of attractive alternatives out of your mind.
Gonzaga tests college students who are in a relationship. He asks them to choose a picture of someone they find very attractive. Then he asks them to write an essay while thinking of their own partner in a lustful way. They are instructed that each time they think of the person in the picture, they should put a check in the margin. He then asks the students to write another essay, this time thinking of their own partner in a loving way. Again, they put a check in the margin each time they think of the person in the picture. This time, there are far fewer checks. The students don't feel any lasting attraction to the people in the pictures, and they quickly forget about them.
In the love condition, people could push the thoughts out of their mind and they wouldn't get this flood of thoughts of attractive alternatives.
What this shows is that true love does seem to bind us together. Real love, that is. But it's in a constant battle with the emotion of lust or desire.
Desire is a tricky thing because some of the evidence that we have shows that desire, even when it's pointed towards your romantic partner, can make you less committed to them. So part of its function may be search in the environment for the most attractive alternative that is out there. If there's somebody who's more attractive out there, that may bode poorly for your current relationship.
So if the relationship is built on love, we are more likely to stick together. If built on desire, then we are more likely to want to have sex with an attractive other. It appears that love has evolved to keep us together, while lust is there for us to choose the fittest genes.
So it looks like love, but not desire, is the thing that helps you get rid of this problem in committing attractive alternatives and helps you solidify commitment to your romantic partner.
It all fits in with Helen Fisher's belief that the third stage of sexual attraction is long-term attachment.
Attachment is a sense of calm and security that you can feel with a long-term partner.
Love, it would appear, does conquer all. But how does it do it? The answer is that the body has a natural love potion ready to stick you and your partner together like glue. And it comes into play when a couple has sex. This chemical is called oxytocin, a hormone and neurotransmitter produced in the brain. It was once believed to confine its effects to inducing labor in pregnant women and stimulating mothers to produce milk. But now, scientists are discovering other far-reaching effects on both women and men. Oxytocin acts as a sexual arousal hormone that signals orgasm and prompts cuddling between lovers before, during, and after intercourse. Hence its other name, the cuddling chemical.
This is why when you make love to somebody who you really do like or love, you can feel a sense of cosmic union with them. That's probably because you've elevated levels of oxytocin, creating this sense of attachment.
It may also serve to strengthen the bond between lovers. The theory goes that the more sex a couple has with each other, the more oxytocin is released, and the deeper their bond becomes.
This is why it's a little dangerous to go copulate with somebody you don't really like. In fact, I recommend to my various students, don't copulate with somebody who you don't want to fall in love with, because you might just trigger these brain systems. It is playing with fire.
But nature isn't finished yet. There is one last important drug in the pharmacy of love: vasopressin. Released during sex, it has a critical role in the long-term commitment stage. A role discovered when scientists explored the mating habits of the prairie vole. Prairie voles are among the mere 3% of mammals that mate for life. Vasopressin is released when the prairie vole mates, just as in humans. The prairie vole has receptors in its brain for vasopressin in the regions responsible for reward. Mating stimulates its brain's reward center and forms a pleasurable memory of that particular mate, and so forms a bond. Scientists argue the reward mechanism involved in this addiction may well have evolved in a similar way in other monogamous animals, humans included. It could be that, like desire and romantic love, forming a lasting, loving relationship is simply a matter of chemistry. Sexual attraction exhilarates and motivates us. The chemicals that flood our brain, our very physiology, all serve one purpose: the continuation of our species. Once we have children, these chemicals alter to encourage us to stay together and raise them. Love is just a part of it. Sexiness, desire, call it what you will. It's distilled from an intoxicating hormonal mix designed to encourage human reproduction. A chemical cocktail that really does make the world go round.